Alright, these boxes have arrived last week. Let's do a quick unboxing. Guys, and welcome back to the Off-Grid Garage here in sunny hot Australia. We had 180 amps today outside, 53% state of charge. Still no full charge yet after the winter. But I had a look in the VRM history, and last year in 2024 we fully charged the battery shelf for the very first time, I think around the 20th of September, which is I still got a couple of days left. So maybe we will make it again around the same time this year. Oh, that's how it looks like. 180 amps outside. Not anymore because it is already late afternoon, but we did around noontime. Alright my friends, and in today's video we're gonna have a look at the brand spanking new do-it-yourself system from our friends at QSO. They sent me these two wonderful do-it-yourself packs, including a Wheelbase. This Wheelbase can apparently carry 6 of these boxes on top of each other. That would make 15, 30, that would be a tower with 90 kilowatt hours. Wow. I'm not sure if this Wheelbase actually holds 750 kilos then, but we will certainly have a look at this later and make some judgments. So, without further ado, let's have a look what we got here. We've got 2 positive, 2 negative terminals, a big circuit breaker in the middle, the on-off button for the BMS. These boxes come with the JK inverter BMS, of course, and from the screen here we can already see this is the version 19 with a glass screen. Actually, I'm not a big fan of this gluing, but let's wait until we open this case here and see if the screens are somehow secured from the back as well. Communication board down here, all standard. We've got 2 flip handles on the side, and we also have side handles here. And a ground point down here. We don't have any hook and latch system here. Also these boxes, they don't have any feet or any holes, nothing. They are just straight boxes. And you wonder how these boxes will stay on top of each other. Well, this is what these 2 screws are for. Actually, these 4. But we have to wait until we open the box and find this mounting plate. Obviously nothing on the back. Do a very quick measurement here. 770 long. Ooh, that is long. And this should be fairly standard. 430, 25. And the height as well, 255. Roughly these do-it-yourself cases, they're all the same. But if you are tight in space, a few millimeters make a big difference. Okay, I have now removed all the screws around the lid of the top box, and let's have a look inside what we can see. Ooh, that is nice. Look at this. We've got a big epoxy sheet inside the lid, protecting the bus bars and terminals of the battery cells. That is a nice feature, I like it. Obviously the BMS and all the cabling here in the front, and 2 rows of 8 cells each in the back. Okay, let's see what we have on accessories. The usual epoxy sheets to isolate the batteries against the case. Lots of small epoxy sheets. So obviously this is designed to have them in between the cells. Very nice. And we've got 2 thick and 2 thinner sticky foam, EVA tape, battery terminal covers. Fire extinguisher. 2 of them. Nice. Terminal screws, cell terminal nuts, flexible bus bars with 1 hole. Network cable for parallel connection, and another USB. There could be an RS485 adapter. This is to update the JK inverter BMS with the newest firmware. And there's also a gray cable with an RJ45 and 4.5. This is obviously designed for CAN communication, then back from the BMS to your inverter. So while I was removing these screws for the PCB holders here, I noticed everything obviously is pre-configured here. Yeah, BMS is already mounted, everything is cabled, circuit breaker is cabled to the positive terminal. Same here, BMS goes to the negative terminal. We've got short tinned copper bus bars, and we have to find out what kind of cable size this actually is. I'm not sure what kind of circuit breaker that is. It doesn't say anything on the front. There's no label here, nothing on the back. So I'll take off the front panel as well and have a look. And unfortunately we've got 3 screws from underneath as well. Okay, let's see. That's what the handles are for, I guess. Alright, that removes quite nice. I'll just take off these balance cables here from the PCB boards. What is this here? What is this shit? Temperature sensors. 1 meter long temperature sensors just flying around. Okay. So obviously we have the JK inverter BMS here and the 2 screws telling us directly this is a 200 amp BMS. And what I also noticed is that none of the screws is actually marked. Even this is a pre-configured box. We cannot ensure that these connections are actually torqued correctly because it doesn't seem like someone has actually checked that. So no check marks. You have to check all the connections yourself. And then here we've got something very unusual. This is the positive power supply connection to the BMS, and it is connected to the main positive terminal of the box, but it is after the circuit breaker. So when you turn off the circuit breaker, the BMS will turn off as well. And this is not good design, because if the circuit breaker trips or you turn it off, you still want to have access to the BMS. Just imagine you want to do a firmware upgrade or something and you want to disconnect this battery from the rest of your system. Well, you would flip the circuit breaker to the off position and it will also turn off your BMS then. So that is not great. So this needs to change either on the other side or directly to the battery. Cannot be on the output side of the circuit breaker. I am trying to find a cable size, somehow an identification for these cables. Yeah, it doesn't tell us what cable size this is, but this is a 16mm cable, double insulated, and this is definitely a bit thinner, but I think this is only single insulated cable here, which is not great anyway. So we probably deal with a 2 times 16 square millimeter cable, and the big one to the breaker actually shows us a 2 American wire gauge. So a 2 gauge wire is around 33 square millimeters, and a 35 millimeter cable, which is this size here, is good for around 120 amps conservative. Depending what table you take, I always take the conservative one, 120 amps. We probably have a 250 amp circuit breaker, but I cannot see that. I have to take off the whole circuit breaker. Maybe there's something on the other side, but here no markings, no labels, no branding, nothing. Okay, so this is the bracket. And now it comes off. Okay, this is the usual cheese. It's a 200 amp circuit breaker actually, thank you. 250 volt DC. 200 amps it says here as well. It doesn't say anything about the breaking capacity. So I'm not sure if this circuit breaker is rated for this battery. So I would highly recommend to install a Class T fuse inside this battery box here. Yeah, well, and then we've got all this cabling. This is a 35 millimeter cable rated for 120, 130 amps maybe. And we've got a 200 amp circuit breaker, so this does not fit together. And the same here with these ones. 2 times 16 square millimeter is roughly the same size as the red one here. Yes, these are highly flexible silicon cables. They can carry a bit more current, but under the sacrifice of heat. Yeah, they've got a heat rating, you can see it here, of 200 degrees Celsius. Do you want to drive these cables for 200 degrees inside the battery box? Probably not. So I think these cables are too thin for this circuit breaker. Whoa, 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 what do I see here? Someone was really generous with, yeah, look at this. This is all just glued in with silicone. So cable lengths are good in general, so they're not too tight. The bend is not too tight here. That all doesn't look too bad. But still, we've got some weird design choices here with the display, for example. Cables are a bit too thin for my taste. So I would definitely recommend to install another fuse in here, because this one may not be able to protect whatever battery you build. You have to probably factor in a 15 to 20 kiloamp short this battery can deliver. So the breaker should have at least 20 or 25 kiloamp breaking capacity. And so should your fuse. I'll make a separate video about selecting the right fuse for your batteries. It is very interesting what I actually found. So here we can see all the layers of these PCBs and holders. That's the PCB on the top. It has actually some nice rubbery silicone here covering the soldering area. What is this one? Bit of an oopsie. Epoxy sheet underneath. Then we've got the metal carrier, and underneath is a big layer of sticky foam, the EVA tape. At this point, I'm actually not sure if we need this epoxy sheet underneath. It doesn't look like they have any exposed contacts or something underneath, which could potentially bend down to the metal carrier. Well, I guess it can't hurt, but it is not really necessary from what I can see. And you can also see another problem here, potentially a safety issue. See down here, we've got the holes where the safety valve is of the cell, but of course, there's nothing up here, yeah? They've got this nice design here, but they forgot to put the oval-shaped openings in this PCB. There's a bit of space between the metal holder and the epoxy sheet, but I'm not sure if this is actually enough for the gas to actually escape the cell in case of an event. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is a safety concern or not, but everyone else, all other manufacturers, they leave the openings here in the PCB. These ones don't have it. But what I'm missing here is the temperature sensors. They are 1 meter long, 2 here and 2 are coming out of this sleeve. So I'm not sure what you are supposed to do with these temperature sensors. Where are they going? Do you just glue them on top of the batteries? Well, this is not a good design then. As per specifications of the EVE cells, the temperature should be actually measured at the terminals. So these temperature sensors, they need some ring lugs to connect them to the battery terminal directly. Or alternatively, you can measure in between the battery cells if you have one of these epoxy sheets with a channel cut into it. And you can feed these temperature probes inside this channel and measure exactly in the middle between 2 battery cells. But this is certainly not my favorite here. Alright, let's have a look at the box itself. It looks a bit rough. Seems like this plastic bag with all the bus bars and screws and everything has moved around quite a lot. So you can see a lot of scratches here and the paint down there as well. So it's probably a better idea to put all these accessories here in a cardboard box and secure the cardboard box somehow in this case so it doesn't move around during transport. And from this angle we get a good look inside this middle frame here, this support, yeah, which sits in between the rows of battery cells, and there's no paint inside. Is this bare metal or is it just primer? This needs more painting, otherwise it starts rusting. Yeah, there are more scratches here. Oh wow, hang on, what have they done here? Okay, we've got 2 screws here at the front holding this frame here in place. Not sure if this is... Well, let's find out. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's just a loose frame. So only these 2 screws here from the front panel from the compression plate holding this frame, and we've got 2 more screws here on a small bracket welded onto this frame. But there's nothing down here. Okay, there's a mounting point missing down here. I don't know why this one is actually removable anyway. So this could be welded onto the box directly and we wouldn't have any of these issues. Yeah, apart from that, all the welding points are nicely done. There's nothing coming out on the outside, so this all seems to be good. I tell you what, these Chinese, they can weld now. All the corners are nicely done, so there's no problems with the actual workmanship, quality. But I still cannot see any of these connector brackets which you need to connect 2 battery boxes together. There's nothing in this box. Maybe they are in this box here. I haven't opened this one yet. It is basically just a piece of metal designed as a bracket and these 4 screws holding this bracket in place, so preventing the boxes from moving. And you've got another one here at the end as well with these 4 screws. I guess this is a design we haven't seen before, so it definitely works. Let's have a look at the compression plate. This is probably only 1.5 millimeter steel, and these thin plates, they don't make it stronger or so. These are probably the mounting points for the fire extinguisher. But why do we have 2 in the front and nothing in the back? So the compression plate could easily take an upgrade, I think. All these materials here are nice and sturdy at the back as well. There's a bit of damage or paint missing on this corner. Yeah, it's nothing here, so it must be a damage from this bag moving around. But this is all nice and sturdy here where the cell sits against. The same for the sides. Nothing to complain here. All looking good. So the second box unfortunately got a bit damaged here during transport. It has a bit of a dent in here. Nothing too traumatic. We can bend this back and make it straight again. And already left some scratches here from the box sitting on top of it and moving it around. Yeah, and the same for the wheelbase here. It got a bit damaged over here in the corner as well. Transport damage, typical. This one can be fixed as well. Piece of timber, rubber hammer, and then we can just hammer it back into shape. Okay, let's have a quick look at the wheelbase itself. This is made from rather thin steel here, and I can easily bend this up and down with my thumb here in the middle. It has a bit of a support rail here welded to it in the middle. The wheels look actually really fat and are definitely heavy duty. And they are sitting on this square metal support welded to the wheelbase. This all seems to be made out of one piece of sheet metal. Yeah, I don't know if this can actually handle here 750 kilos. We have seen other wheelbases which look a bit stronger than this one. So I'm a bit skeptic that this one can actually handle 6 of these battery boxes, including the cells, of course. What do you think? And really here in the second box there are these brackets we need to secure the boxes to each other. So you remove these 2 screws, put the bracket in, and the same here at the top for the next battery on top of it. And then they prevent the batteries from moving around. Whoa, 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 I can see a bit of damage here. Totally bended. And there we can see the scratch marks again from this bag and the epoxy sheets moving around. Yeah, there's nothing here in this compartment, but here where all the accessories are, this shit is constantly moving around them and scratching everything. But this one here, wow, this is bent all the way up. Oh yeah, fixed. Yeah, same here as well, no marks. I would say nobody has checked these connections here at all. So you have to take everything apart, have to take out the circuit breaker, check all these connections here for the right torque. I'm not a fan of this stuff here. Why are they not connected to the PCBs as well? Coming out as a short cable here with a ring lug as well to connect to the terminal of the battery. So I'm just putting everything back together for the final verdict, and I see that they have used here longer hole. See this oval shaped hole? So you can actually move these PCB holders here a bit back and forward, and this is very important because the compression plate may need a bit of adjustment then when the cells are in and the EVA tape comes together. So they have these long holes here on both sides and can move a bit back and forward. Good attention to detail. And there's also no slot for a heating option here in this compression plate, which we usually see. So obviously a heated battery is not available from QSO. Alright my friends, I've put everything back together as far as I can. I still don't know what these flip handles are for actually here, because this is not a servo rack style battery. So you probably could leave these ones away. The same with these epoxy sheets here, I'm not sure if they are really necessary. Yeah, so nothing to complain here with the front panel. Nice and clear layout. Biggest concern for me here are the cable sizes, which are a bit too thin for a 200 amp circuit breaker. And we've got 35 square millimeter cable. I would really like to see a Class T fuse here with a breaking capacity of 20 or even more kiloamps. I'm not a fan at all of this solution here with these temperature sensors. So either have these epoxy sheets with a channel so you can slot them in, or have them combined here on the PCB with short cables and ring lugs to connect to the terminals. The positive of the BMS does definitely not belong to the output of the circuit breaker. Yeah, all the cables have this braided sleeve around it for extra protection, so they are not cutting into any metal corners or so. Balance cables are all labeled, nice. I'm not a big fan of this support here because it's loose down there in the corner. And this could be actually welded onto the box itself, so you wouldn't have this issue. Painting needs to be better, and a better protection for all these accessories here, so they are not banging around during transport. These handles here are not the strongest, and I've already bent one 15 degrees upwards. And you also may have noticed something else which is missing. Yeah, the manual. There's no manual, there's no QR code to scan, nothing provided. QSO said they are sending installation videos to the customer then, once they buy one of these boxes here. I would really like to have a small, quick installation, a few pictures, a bit of text explaining how to install this do-it-yourself box. Yeah, but at the moment nothing is provided. What a shame. And I also don't like that none of the screws is actually countersunk into the metal. They're all sticking out, regardless what it is. They're all sticking out. Yeah, the wheelbase looks alright, but I'm not sure if this is really capable of carrying 6 of these boxes, including the cells, on top of each other. The 90 kilowatt hour tower, I'm not sure. I can see it carrying 4 of these boxes, but 6 is probably pushing it a bit. Well, the epoxy sheet inside the lid is actually a very good feature here. I like this very much. Hey my friends, so final verdict, I guess. It is a do-it-yourself box, as we have seen many times before from other manufacturers as well. There's nothing new to the game, no real highlights or improvements. I guess it's a bit of a shame because QSO is a bit late to the party with these do-it-yourself boxes here. And they could have looked around what other manufacturers are already doing. They could have watched my videos about all these do-it-yourself boxes I've tested here and could have been a bit more proactive, a bit more innovative. Yeah, sometimes the Chinese, they're copying from each other all the time. And in this case here, they just invent everything from scratch again. And the only reason I accepted the review of these boxes here is because QSO is such a long-time partner, a supporter for the do-it-yourself community for many years. And as you can imagine, I'm getting a ton of emails where other companies want me to review their do-it-yourself boxes. And when I look at their product photos, it is nothing special. It is everything we have already seen. So that's the only reason we are looking at these QSO boxes right now. Alright my friends, as always, I link these boxes down below under the video here. They're all on my website already. Have a look at the pricing. Maybe they are a little bit cheaper than other boxes and you say, well, I want to save $100 or something and buy these ones here instead of do-it-yourself boxes from other manufacturers. Fair enough. And of course, guys, let me know what you think about these QSO do-it-yourself boxes down in the comment section under the video. Always keen to read your comments, so thank you very much for all your hundreds of comments under my videos. Thank you very much for all your donations, yeah? Buying me a beer, a spat, a solar panel alignment tool. Thank you very much for that. Welcome to all the new channel members. From time to time I put a member video out there as well. And of course a big thanks to all the new subscribers. And welcome back all the old ones. The old subscribers. Guys, until the next video, you stay charged, stay safe, and thanks again for watching. See you then. Bye bye.